Caitlin Clark has added pressure to the March 10th date for the WNBA CB talks and added pressure to the WNBPA to get a deal done.
Negotiations show a big psychological gap between a normal deadline and a financial ultimatum. For months, sports media described the WNBA bargaining conflict as just a revenue-sharing dispute, with the players' union calmly waiting for owners to give in due to public pressure and the cultural buzz around Caitlin Clark. Many also believed owners relied heavily on the upcoming season's income, giving players stronger leverage. But behind the scenes, ownership groups have reportedly taken a more calculated and aggressive strategy to weaken the union's unity. Instead of soft negotiations, the league seems to be using strategic psychological pressure. A corporate-style tactic may be pushing players to question their leadership and internal choices, while the spotlight on Caitlin Clark is being used as a pressure point, raising urgency and stakes. This shifts the situation from a normal labor talk to a high-pressure strategic battle. To fully understand the rising tension inside the Players Association, we must look beyond the public timeline. While many think both sides have plenty of time before the season starts, real sports logistics are complex, and delays create major uncertainty for players. The league's messaging implies the actual operational deadline is much tighter, increasing pressure to settle negotiations quickly.
Delivered a stark ultimatum to the players' union. A deal must be reached by March 10th if the season is to start on time, according to AP.
March 10th is the real dead deadline, not just a scare tactic, but the final logistical point where running a professional basketball league becomes nearly impossible. The urgency is higher because over 80% of WNBA players are unrestricted free agents, leaving most rosters basically empty. Additionally, 2 new expansion teams in Toronto and Portland have paid huge entry fees and still have 0 players signed. In less than 2 months, the league must complete an expansion draft, handle free agency, relocate players, conduct the collegiate draft, start training camps, and arrange the preseason. None of this can move forward without a signed collective bargaining agreement. Teams cannot sign players without a salary cap. They cannot trade draft picks without clear roster rules. As a result, the entire league is effectively frozen. Ownership's message is simple. Without a deal by March 10th, there won't be enough time to build rosters, book arenas, or start the season on time. Delays would cause lost venues, operational disruptions, and missed paychecks for players. But setting a deadline is just the first step in a high-stakes negotiation. The next move is often a stronger financial tactic called an exploding offer. If an offer stays open forever, the union feels less urgency. However, when a strict deadline and the risk of worse terms are added, pressure rises and financial consequences become immediate, forcing quicker decisions. Former executive David Sampson explained that an exploding offer means deal terms get worse over time instead of staying the same. For example, ownership may present a salary cap and benefits today, but if the agreement is delayed, those terms may become less favorable. This creates urgency by linking delays directly to financial loss. Strategically, this shifts the psychological pressure. Instead of only negotiating with owners, players begin to feel pressure from time itself. Star players with strong endorsements can afford to wait, but players who mainly depend on league salaries face faster financial risk if talks drag on. Because of this imbalance, internal pressure can grow inside the union. Players with fewer financial backups may push to accept a deal quickly, while others may want to hold out for better terms. Over time, this can weaken unity and make it harder to maintain one clear negotiating stance. Overall, the strategy is not just about contract numbers, but about creating rising urgency. By introducing a worsening terms and financial pressure over time, ownership increases the chances of a faster agreement, especially when both league operations and player income depend on a timely deal.
increases, but no revenue sharing movement. If you do not accept this deal by that day, every day following,
the punishment for missing my timeline highlights the harsh reality of high-stakes corporate negotiations. Here, delays aren't seen as part of a mutual process, but as resistance that must be corrected through pressure. Negotiations become less about partnership and more about controlling timing, leverage, and financial outcomes. While public narratives often frame leagues and players as partners, ownership sees the league as a business and player contracts as costs affecting profitability.
Love that strategy. I used it with players all the time. You don't want to agree right now? Your next offer is lower.
When talks stall, disputes shift from emotional to financial, focused on protecting long-term revenue. The spotlight on Caitlin Clark adds extra pressure. Many assumed public interest would protect players, but that attention can also be leverage, turning a protective shield into a source of urgency that raises the stakes of any delay. Strict deadlines shift the narrative. If the season is delayed, public frustration may target the side seen as holding out. Players face lost income and criticism. The league risks operational disruption and fan disengagement. Credibility is crucial in hardline negotiations. An ultimatum only works if the consequences are real. Empty threats weaken leverage, reduce trust, and make future negotiations harder.
Have to follow through. Because if your child, your partner, your parent, the people with whom you work, the people against whom you negotiate, the agents, if they all believe that...
If an ultimatum isn't seen as real, it loses power. That's why March 10th is framed as the league's defining moment. Ownership has drawn a line. They won't meet massive revenue-sharing demands, cover huge projected losses, or negotiate past the operational deadline needed to start the season. Practically, this means owners are ready to delay or even halt the season rather than agree to financially unsustainable terms. Veteran players seeking a much larger share of revenue may soon face the reality of their leverage if games are postponed and salaries stop. Caitlin Clark's popularity has given the league a huge financial boost, but owners seem willing to risk short-term excitement to protect long-term equity and control. Conceding too much now could permanently change the league's financial model. Strategically, this is a high-risk power play. Exploding offer tactics create urgency and internal pressure, especially on players with smaller financial cushions. But they also carry reputational risk. If fans see owners as aggressive, public support could shift. If players seem overreaching, pressure may fall on union leadership. Whether veteran players hold firm or compromise depends on financial endurance, public opinion, and confidence in leadership. Unity is strongest before real economic consequences hit. Once salaries are at risk, internal divisions grow. Ultimately, this isn't about emotion. It's about leverage, timing, and long-term financial structure. The winner will be the side that can endure short-term pain while safeguarding long-term goals.